Here's how to get easy max angle on a 240SX S13. We're going to be installing a Gktech rack spacer and roll center correction kit along with new brake rotors and pads. Start off by installing the steering rack spacer on the passenger side of the steering rack. Remove the cover. Loosen the tie rod from the steering rack. Remove the inner tie rod. Clean off the steering rack and tie rod with some brake cleaner. Put some Loctite on the steering rack extension and install it back into the steering rack. Tighten it down and reinstall the inner tie rod with some Loctite. Make sure everything is tight and snug and reinstall the boot. Next step is to install the washer spacer on the driver's side of the car.
Oh,
Remove the boot.
shit.
Then remove the inner tie rod from the steering rack. Clean off both sides with some brake cleaner and a rag. Install the washer spacer onto the outer tie rod. Put some Loctite on the outer tie rod and then reinstall the tie rod back into the steering rack. Make sure everything is tight and then reinstall the boot. Next, we're going to be installing the roll center correction kit. Remove the two 19mm rear caliper bolts, remove the caliper, and set it somewhere safe. Remove the two 17mm strut bolts, then remove the brake rotor. Next, remove the two cotter pins from the knuckle. Then, with a 22mm, remove the main knuckle bolt. Remove the 19mm tie rod bolt and remove the knuckle itself. Install the roll center correction kit onto the knuckle so that it sits flush. Put some Loctite onto the knuckle threads and then install the provided hardware. Torque the main bolt to 57 to 72 foot-pounds and the tie rod bolt to 22 to 29 foot-pounds. While the knuckle is off, remove the steering bump stop. I find it easiest to do with a pry bar and a hammer. Then reinstall the knuckle back on to the lower control arm. Then reinstall the tie rod onto one of the two tie rod pickup points. The one I'm using is for drifting and max angle, and the other one is for grip. Next, reinstall the knuckle hardware with some Loctite. Torque the 22mm main knuckle bolt to 57 to 72 foot-pounds. Then torque down the 19mm tie rod end bolt to 50 foot-pounds. Reinstall the two cotter pins. Then reinstall the knuckle back onto the strut. Install the brake rotors. Reinstall the caliper. Repeat these steps on the other side, and then your new angle kit is ready to go. Make sure to get an alignment, and then you'll be able to get max lock while drifting. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment if you have any questions.